Hello and welcome back to a series that I haven't touched since 2014. I'm joined by the fantastic Michelle Franklin. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Mark.
Hello.
I'm very glad to be on this adventure with you this time.
Yeah. Archaeoscoop. I haven't done one of these for a while. I let go of Archaeoscoop more or less when I started doing Watching Brief with Andy. And in recent months and years, I've come to appreciate the value of just looking at good news. Oh no, no, no,
Good,
no, no, no.
good news in the archaeological and historical
Exactly.
landscape.
Exactly. Yeah. Without thinking or having to think too much about what's actually happening behind the headlines. And so, for folks at home, I am going to be continuing Watching Brief with Andy, and we will be continuing that sort of journalism. But it's something that he in particular isn't interested in doing. Is just looking at a news story and going, "Ooh, isn't this interesting?" Whereas I kind of need it. I'm at a point where I just need. I need to not just be thinking about frankly the archaeologists behind the archaeology all the time. You know that's where we're at.
We
Um,
definitely need it. I don't know if for those who are only listening or watching, maybe,
yeah.
Mark has a Discord for Archaeosoup, and
Mm,
in that Discord, every single day we share interesting archaeological discoveries.
mm,
And we also share some funny pseudo-archaeology discoveries, which are always hilarious.
mm,
But we share things and we really enjoy them. And we think,
mm,
oh, how interesting these new findings are. And
mm.
so I think it's important to share that with the broader archaeological community and people who are interested in these kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. And as I say, it is important to do the other stuff to keep on top of best practice, etc. But also, I've got a story that I'd like to share with you. So the first story I'd like to share today is headlined "Rare Iron Age Textile is going on display for the first time." It's an Iron Age textile from Scotland, and it's actually a piece of fine woven yarn that's 2,500 years old, and it was previously. That's the dog. Hello, Morty. You okay?
Ah, show the wee man!
Yeah.
Pick him up!
Morty, up you go.
Pick him up!
Up. There you go. There you go. Good boy. Hello.
Leave it in the video for everybody watching. Oh my God. Hi, Morty. I love you.
He's so cute, isn't he?
I love you, wee
Hello.
man.
Hello.
Oh,
Oh,
he wanted
bless.
to say hello to
He did. He
Daddy.
did.
Oh my goodness, he's so cute. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he does love a good hug. Um,
Leave this for people on the Patreon.
I will. I
Oh.
will. But the textile was previously thought to be too fragile to display. But following conservation work, it's gone on permanent display at the Scottish Crannog Centre in Perthshire, and it's believed to be the oldest of its kind, discovered in 1979. It's a heck of a thing, and it reminds me of the sock, the Jorvik Viking sock that we have in down in York, and it's nice to see how these textures and these textile textures and weaving patterns were being put together in ancient times. Now, also, there's no evidence that a dodecahedron was used to make this either. None
You need
whatsoever.
you need you need to insert your dodecahedron song.
Roman dodecahedron, what are you for? Don't say knitting, that's not what you're for.
This.
Roman dodeca, yeah, exactly, yeah. Precisely.
I just want to point out on that story, I don't think people understand how difficult it is to find textiles.
Oh yeah, yeah,
The farther back, everybody thinks, oh, like ancient Egypt, oh, it's so easy to find textiles. It is absolutely not. Textiles of all shapes and sizes, if they're not preserved in something like a bog for the humic acid, it
mm,
is so hard to actually get textiles that are preserved properly.
yeah,
Sometimes you'll get a square piece,
hmm,
sometimes you'll get a couple of threads,
yeah,
and that's it. You won't to get a whole piece is really special.
yeah. And particularly, so in this instance, it's yarn, but if you're dealing with textiles that are flax or some other fibrous material, it's all about having anoxic conditions where bacteria can't eat away at it, and having that sealed as well. And at the Crannog Centre and the excavations that were done there, that was a place where essentially burning resulted in houses on stilts collapsing into the water and being very quickly covered up, and being denied that oxygen to eat away at the stuff. So, yeah, it's a canny survival. And I'll link below as well, actually, to an interview I did a few years ago now with someone there. They've got all sorts of stuff that's up there, and it's well worth a visit as well if you ever get a chance.
Which museum is it again, Mark, that they're putting it on display?
The Scottish Crannog Centre in Perthshire. Yeah. So what's your first the thing you want to share with me?
As ever, I would love to talk about cheese. And I love, and anytime there's a story in archaeological news where they've discovered cheese, like that 3,200-year-old Egyptian cheese that was found, any time I am very much interested, and also maybe would try it. But this one,
Would you have a nibble, like, regardless?
if science said, you know what, it's fermented enough that you won't die or get botulism from it. I might consider giving it a go. I really do. I joke. I always say would. And I would, as long as I could know that it was scientifically safe to test.
Okay.
If it's just, ooh, floor cheese.
Or,
I don't think I would be that adventurous because I've had food poisoning many times in my life. I've been hospitalized for it. But we give a wee nibble if it were allowed. This one is actually right up my alley because this has to do with a manuscript and cheeseboard origins discovered in Tudor manuscript. Tudor times is not my specialty, but according to a 16th century pamphlet, cheese was regularly eaten at the end of a meal in Tudor times. Now, there's no saying as to whether this was invented in Tudor times. I still happen to think that it was probably invented in France, which is where they got the idea from. But the article states that the tradition of having a cheese board at the end of the meal dates back at least 400 years in England, according to historians studying the oldest English book on cheese, a book we should all read. The origins of this postprandial staple, I love that word, were uncovered in the Elizabethan manuscript during work to transcribe the original handwritten text held at the University of Leeds by Tudor reenactors at Kentwell Hall in Suffolk. The 16th century document, titled A Pamphlet Compiled of Cheese, containing the differences, natures, qualities, and goodness of the same, as it is written in layman English, had been known until it was bought at auction in 2023.
Okay. Oh, nice. Is there any word on whether there's any types of cheese that aren't so common today, perhaps? Oh.
No, not as far as I know. It just talks about the transcript in general, but it doesn't seem to. It gives the title and says that it was eaten afterward. But and they even have, if you do take a look at the picture in this article, which we can link to below, it has the title that says pamphlet compiled of cheese, and goes on for the whole title. It does describe that it was eaten after the meal, but it doesn't say the names of the cheese, unfortunately. So we'll just call them Bob and Susan.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'm also just going to add to your story there with a story that comes from BBC News Round. It's technically a young person's news program, but they have the fantastic headline: "The 125-year-old chocolate bar and other really odd foods."
Also would eat.
Yeah. So there's a bar of chocolate. Victorian, and was set to be sold. Is set to be sold in June at auction for between 250 and 400.
Is it in the shape of the Green Man?
It's not in the shape of the Green Man, but they do have in their list a 285-year-old lemon, the ancient fossil of fruit, 2,000-year-old bog butter.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, bog butter, and a 340-year-old cheese. Yeah, this was from a shipwreck. Crikey. So check those out. I'll link to those as well. My second main news story, though, is a slightly more sort of grown-up archaeological news story. in so much as it's talking about what we can tell from animal remains. And this is actually from popularmechanics.com. A construction crew accidentally uncovered the remains of 100 plus horses
Oh,
in Germany. Crews working on a housing project in the Bad Cannstatt district of Stuttgart recently uncovered a second century horse cemetery. Over 100 skeletons of horses that were used by the Roman cavalry. The site was known as a military stronghold for the Roman army, and it's considered to be one of the most important Roman military locations in modern-day southwest Germany. Experts believe the Roman cavalry occupying the region had about 500 soldiers on site and sustained a potential population of over 700 horses. The first discovery of a horse skeleton in the area was actually in 1920. Ooh, hello. And also during a housing project that was previously happened on the site. But the recent development uncovered the entire cemetery, and Sarah Roth, an archaeologist with the Preservation Office, said that radiocarbon dating had helped to pinpoint the age of said cemetery. Now, interestingly, the Roth went on to say that the horses were buried around 1,300 feet from the equestrian barns, so the cemetery was some way away from where they were living. And evidence showed that the carcasses were slid into shallow pits, buried lying on their side with outstretched or bent legs.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we know two things? One, do we know if those horses were dug at different dates? Like,
Hmm.
obviously the one on the bottom is going to be the one that's been dug first.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, do we know if the horse went in first and then they covered it and then another horse went in 10 years later?
Mm.
Two, are these horses that died of illness or natural causes, or were these horses that were actually butchered? Is there any kind of butchering?
There doesn't seem to be any evidence of butchery. And I don't think there was a particular taboo against horse meat in the Roman world. Don't quote me on that. I know that the cow meat beef was more common, certainly for military rations, little cubes of beef. But in this instance, the horses do not seem to have died at the same time. So it's not a battle or an epidemic of sorts, according to Roth. Rather, here are the animals that either died during the presence of illness, injury, or for other reasons. So it looks like it's just basically where military working horses were being taken. And I guess you've got to have a place, just as you've got to have a place for people. You know, a horse is a large carcass, and I guess as infamously you hear about in medieval times later on, they'd throw dead massive carcasses over walls because they're excellent ways of spreading disease. In a siege, you want to be able to deal with your horses, I suppose. I guess I've just never really thought about the practicalities of dealing with the dead horses in a Roman cavalry, and that may be because if I'm interested in Romans at all, I tend to be more interested in Romans before the cavalry was a major part of their military setup, their campaigning setup. But also, what she went on to say was that even after about 1,800 years, the grief over the death of this one particular animal is apparent, pointing to one grave in particular where 2 jugs and a small oil lamp were placed in the crook of the legs of one of the horses.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, grave goods, as they say here, typically reserved for humans, and probably reflects a particularly close connection between an owner and their horse. So that's nice as well. You know, I'm sure Morty would appreciate that the horses are being looked after. If he wasn't just like, just hold me. So what's your second story then?
Speaking of Romans, we have Roman penises in the chat.
Yay! Okay.
Yay.
Uh-huh.
It is not Friday, so we can't claim Phallus Friday, but
Uh-huh.
a Roman phallus, a very tiny Roman penis was
Yep.
discovered at Frontier Fortress, is what the headline is. Excavations at Vindolanda near
Yep.
Hadrian's Wall have
Yep.
unearthed a miniature phallus pendant. And if you look at the picture, if you'll look at the article, it is so very cute. It's about the size of a thumb. It's very small.
Uh-huh.
It's black and it's carved in stone. So it says Vindolanda, obviously meaning white field or white moor, was a Roman auxiliary fort guarding just south of Hadrian's Wall. Between 85 AD and 370 AD, no fewer than 9 timber stones and forts were built on this site. And recently, there is an ongoing excavation there, and recently they found this little tiny penis pendant. How do we know it's a pendant? Well, in Roman times in general, penises were used to ward off evil. It's sort of a symbol of virility and therefore good luck. And you'll find penises all throughout the Roman world. They have penises, just everything. They've got flying penises on pendants.
Yep, yep.
They have giant penis bells with little penis bells
Yep,
under
yep,
it.
yep.
This
Well,
one,
it's
this one,
that's probably my favorite penis actually is
the big bell one, yeah.
yeah, well the bell, and because basically you'd have them as doorbells in some places.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
you'd pull on the head, you'll pull on the bell end to ring the bell.
yes, exactly. This miniature phallus pendant was made from jet. In the remains of a 4th century wall. So that's how old it is. The Romans believed that as I said, the phallus was the embodiment of masculine power and provided protection, fertility, good fortune. And so people, soldiers especially, carry them around. Phallic imagery, as Marc said, is all over the place in doorknobs, doorknobs, in bells, and it's especially in bullae or tintinnabulae, which is the ringy bells that have penises on them. It's just a very, very cute little phallus. And it's very nice that people would just carry it around. Miniature phallus pendant follows from a 2024 discovery at Vindolanda, where archaeologists discovered another phallus of a symbol carved into a stone slab.
There you go. They cannot stop finding them. Vindolanda's just up the road from me, and I've got a couple of relevant videos I'll link to below. And again, it's well worth a visit if you ever get a chance to go there. The one of my favorite things about the name of the place, being this sort of white field, white plain, Vindolanda, is that it's in the sort of the shadow of a hill nearby, and so the suggestion is that it would frost over quite a lot, and still does to this day. But it's the fact that you, in some of the Vindolanda letters, not only is there the famous birthday party invitation that was preserved and uncovered, but also there's letters from people saying, "Please send me socks."
Oh yes,
yeah, so cold. And this is also something actually, given that I was saying that I'm not necessarily as familiar with later Roman military practice. It's also interesting how most people don't tend to think of the Romans as being as having happened over the course of 1,000 years or more. And in that sense, the later Romans wearing socks, wearing trousers, looking not really like you see certainly in film and TV. And in this instance,
and these socks and trousers were also not made with the dodecahedron.
No, they weren't. No, and actually, speaking of which, I saw a photo of a dodecahedron the other day, where the dimension basically is huge.
Yeah.
Who unless you're knitting something for a phallus, perhaps you're not going to use one of those rings for a thumb, or a little finger. So, yeah, Roman dodecahedron. What are you for? Don't say knitting.
Not for knitting. That's not what it's for.
But there you go.
And as we say, so far in the northern regions, there have only been 3 or 4 that have been uncovered. So most of the dodecahedron are actually found on the continent and have nothing to do with Hadrian's Wall.
No, or cold places per se.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's been the first Archaeoscoop in quite a long time. I think we're toying with the idea of this being a fortnightly series, so let us know what you think below. If any stories you'd like us to take a look at, do send comments, send messages, or turn up on the Discord server and post links into the interesting archaeological news thread. And of course, check out Michelle's amazing YouTube channel, Legends and Lectures, where occasionally I turn up and the views drop. So, yeah.
Maybe they'll increase if we make this a Sen-nightly series.
Maybe. Yes, I see what you did there. I see what you did. Yes, yes. Well, folks, thank you for watching. Until next time, do take care. And incidentally, check out Michelle's TikTok for what's going on with what she just said there. Okay, bye-bye.